All right, our next talk will be from Slaviša and Aleksej, my very good friends from Serbia. They're voice actors and they have their own voice acting studio, the only one in Serbia and the best one. And they will be talking about cooperation between voice actors, developers, and all the audio stuff within the games, and bloopers and the pitfalls and the good things that happen when they're creating voice acting. So guys, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Maybe not in front of the... Yep, definitely not. Yeah, so we'll be here. Hi everyone, my name is Slaviša and I'm a full-time voice actor, and
I'm Aleksej Krpan and I'm a co-founder like him of the Sensible Shouting voice acting studio. It's not the only voice acting studio in Serbia actually, but it's the only voice acting studio that focuses itself on working with the game developers and coaching game devs in order for them not to embarrass themselves in front of the voice actors or audio sector in general. See? Yeah, we probably should have went on this slide before we said that. So yeah, this is us. This is our small studio. We are a team of 5 or 6 on and off people working in voice acting and coaching right now. We founded our studio in December 2020, if I'm not mistaken. It was the middle of pandemic. It was not a good moment to find any company that communicates with people on a higher scale, because no one was up for that in the said moment. But our aim remained the same. We aim to provide quality audio services for both established studios and up-and-coming gaming industry players. But what we like to do most is communicate with indie developers, with small studios that are still kind of unhinged with their ideas, and in 9 out of 10 cases, these guys have no idea how to talk to voice actors. And we realized that in our own experience and on the hardest way possible. And today we're here to talk about that to you good people. So take it off.
Yeah, so without further ado, there is a huge gap in communication between the game developers and the voice actors, because I mean, audio is a very crucial, as you guys know, audio is a very crucial part of the game, and the characters, should you decide to voice them, are also like as important as graphics, as story, as everything else. It's like the whole connective tissue of the game. And so what we're going to talk about here is what are the do's and don'ts in when you want to create a voice for the character, and how do you approach to a voice actor, or ideally to a voice acting studio, which ways there are to do that, and what's the best practice that we found so far, and hope that that will help you guys to take it away.
Yeah, so first of all, the main question when you're making a video game is, do you really need voices in your game? There are 3 ways to consider giving voices to your characters. First one is do it all. The second is do nothing of it. And the third one is use voices as an indicator of what's important in your video game, whether it's an RPG or a fighting game or a sports game or whatever. The way you use voice determines the way the players are gonna emotionally connect with your characters, and it's a really thin line of doing it and not overdoing it. But the pluses are immense of giving the voice to your characters. I mean, you have immersive storytelling that will be uplifted by giving your character a voice. You can create an engaging narrative vessel by defining your character with a voice. And of course, you can implement the entire range of emotions that will reflect on the player, that these emotions can be like, for the orcs in Warhammer 40K. And then on the other hand, you can have captivating monologues like tens of thousands of monologues from Disco Elysium, for example. You're the master of your own game, of course, and your responsibility is to determine whether you want or not to delve into voice acting. And if you do, then it's an entire different beast. Then you need to have some soft skills that borderline pitching to venture capitals. And we're just kind of double teaming here, because the things you need to learn to do in order to present your game to a voice actor, they're basically the same things you need to learn to do in order to get some money for your game when you talk with VCs, when you talk with different funds, and when you're hunting for publishers. Speaking of emotional depth.
Yes. So a huge chunk of your game voice and your like audio is how you present the lines, how the voice actor presents the character lines to the audience, to basically to the players. So if you like have a simple line that just says, "Oh, it's you," it can be pronounced as, "Oh, it's you," or it can be pronounced as, "Oh, it's you," or like, "No, it's you," or something like that. So there's like layers upon layers that exist there. And like in just a few words, you need to find an appropriate voice actor who will be able to do the voice, who will be able to do the emotional depth. And you will need to know how to tell them how to get to that emotional depth. But how to do that, we will get on the further slides.
But I want to get back to the first question. Most of the game devs we've talked with, they don't have any big emotion behind their plan to implement voice acting in their game. The line I used to hear more than often is, "Yeah, we need voices because Americans don't want to read subtitles and whatever." And yeah, that is true. That is true. We from Europe, I don't know if there is anyone here overseas, but we from Europe, we mostly are capable of maintaining the eye coordination between picture and the subtitles. Some people don't. I know Italians don't know that, but because they have a heavy culture of synchronization and everything. But many nations of Europe do not have a sense of what it means not to be able to read subtitles while watching the picture itself. Americans don't do that. Americans are like, I have no idea what the hell am I doing. I have to read the lines. I want to watch the movie. I want to play the game. I want to do whatever. They can handle comics, but video games and any content that involves pictures moving, whether it was interactive or it was movie or a TV show, they cannot handle without some serious training. And America is one of the biggest markets for video games, and understandably game devs consider that their main goal. And we also understand that, but you have to think about the question, do you really need voices in your game? And that's where the game Bible, where the game genre you've picked, that's where everything else comes into play. Because you need to understand the game you're making, and are you proving that something can be better with voices or not? We'll see during our talk. Let's see what comes next. Pre-production pitching. So can you remind me this?
Yeah, the game Bible.
The freaking game Bible. You need to have a game Bible for a game.
Yeah, I mean, as we all know, when you make a game, we both are, or where I was, and he currently is, working in a game dev studio as well. And the game Bible, as everyone knows, is like very vital for everything regarding your game. And yeah, so what we have here, game presentation. In the same manner that you were going to pitch your game to an investor, you're going to pitch your game to the voice actors as well. Or the studio. So we need to understand, as voice actors, we need to understand what the game is about. We need to see the setting, we need to see the atmosphere, we need to like find the feel that will help us like connect to the game, not yet connect to the characters, but first to connect to the game, to the atmosphere of the game, to the flow of the game, to the dynamics of the game. And then after that, of course, comes the part where we sit down and we talk about, so we're going to have this part done by this time, and we're going to have that part done by that time, etc., etc. Or we'll be getting like some funding in 5 months, but by that time, let's think ahead and prepare some things. So getting there is a lengthy step-by-step process that needs to be very patient and very thorough. And I mean, the thing is that usually the game dev team, the indie game dev teams are small, like maybe sometimes even 1 or up to like 6, 7, 8 people, like small teams. And like, so this guy does this part, this guy does this part, or girl, let's not, or whatever, gender. And you just get to a point where maybe no one thought about the voice acting. But as soon as you start to work on the game, that's like the first switch, or one of the first switches you need to think. Should we think ahead for the voice acting or not? And from there, the story goes on.
Yeah, it's really sad, but we have to deal with it. We deal with the fact that the audio comes last. And when game devs are thinking about their game, they're of course thinking about which engine to pick, how to program it, how to implement their visual arts, and whatever they have in mind, because the audio comes last. That's why there is a contingency plan. I already mentioned the Game Bible. The Game Bible is the best thing that you can have, not only because we will understand your game better, but you will understand your game better. And you will understand the limitations of your game, and you will avoid situations like like Slaviša said, I'm double teaming here as a narrative designer. I work for a small team from Serbia, and I lost many hairs from my head listening to stuff like, oh, maybe we could do this actually. And we were already a year and a half in development. There are no lines like that. You cannot switch your mechanics like that. You can, but it's not easy, and it needs a lot more work and crunch and a lot more people just to bounce stuff like that. So if you made your own confinements within the Game Bible, where you will pick the story, where you will pick the mechanics, where you will pick everything that can sell your game, actually, you will have the basic understanding of your own project, and you will prove to anyone who you're talking with that your project is some serious freaking business, and that you are a serious team, that you're not a band of dudes working solely on enthusiasm and as a passion project. For example, my crew, we all quit our jobs and we made game development our day job. And that's the first thing that the VCs hear. That's the first thing that outsource companies will hear. That's the first things that us two, on the other hand, are perfectly aware of. That the crew is serious, and that they really mean business. I'm not saying that you should risk your bread and butter here, but if you embarked on this journey already, you need to make a fast forward plan, and you need to think about that. That is why pre-production is so important, because even if you are like 3 years into development, you will still talk about the same things from the day one, and that will cement the thought of your own game within your own team. And of course, if you are a leader of your team will respect you more for being adamant about stuff that you're making.
So yeah. Moving on, we're going to talk about the script. So when we talked about like telling the voice actors what the world's going to be like, this is where we are at now. Okay, so know your script. You need to, like, when you get to the point of talking with voice actor, even if it's at the end of like everything else is ready and now we're deciding to do the voices now. By that time, you already have like a clear script, a clear story, clear like characters and everything. So it's pretty easy to help translate the idea of the game to the voice actors, for them to know if it's, for example, if it's a noir game, if it's like a fantasy game, if it's some SF or like chess or whatever type of game you're making. And that will help the voice actors to like narrow it down and not to do like crazy performances that are totally unrelated to the game. So the worst thing you can do is just give the voice actor a script. So the game name is this, and this is your lines. And then, I'm sorry, but what you provide is what you get in return. It's like when you make if anyone here likes hard liquor, in the process of like maybe preparing foods. If you have a good recipe and you have all the right ingredients, you make a good food. If you know how to boil it, how to how long it should be in the oven, which temperature, etc., you can make a good product. But if not, I mean, imagine you want to take a burger, but you don't know the process, and you just put it in some boiling water, and yay, burger.
If it's sous vide, it's possible,
yeah,
but we're not getting into details here.
Let's not go nuts here.
Yeah, what important thing is you need to know context of the world you made, and you need to know, of course, like I mentioned before, you need to know the limitations of said world in terms of tone, in terms of genre, of course, and in terms of whatever message you need to send with your game, if there is a message. If it's not a pure entertainment, if it is narrative driven, it has a message, like it or not. But it is up to you to decide how you want to send that message. Do you want to send it through like PG-13 stuff that's kids friendly? Do you want to make serious characters or caricatures of these characters? We'll talk about all that later, because we had to wing it on more than one occasion because devs did not know what they want. So, moving on to the characters, we have detailed descriptions and backstories. you need in every single moment of the day and night, you need to know the description and backstory of your characters. This helps, of course, us to understand the essence of them, and that enables us to deliver more authentic performances. If we are wandering the wilds, thinking about what kind of protagonist you want, we can hit it off like right away, and the client will be satisfied. But of course, the chances are that we are going to make some huge misses in terms of tone, in terms of everything I said before. So at any time of day, you need to know what makes your characters tick, what makes them do the stuff they do, what made them become who they are at the present point where when the game takes place. You need to know all the small details, traits and quirks and nuances, and all their flaws that will make them believable, that will make them sound like believable persons or creatures or whatever. And that's where the more advanced understanding of the things you do as game devs comes into play, because knowing flaws of your character is more important than anyone would think. Especially at this day and age where we have like AI generated voices. We'll talk about that later, of course, because of course we will. You need to keep things natural, or I don't know, overplayed and caricatured to any extent you want, as long as they are believable, serious or funny, or whatever they want. That, of course, ensures mutual understanding between you and between us and you, of course, because that's how we need to build these guys from grounds up. We need to build up these characters because. Even if you have the most detailed game Bible your characters are still a thought that needs to be materialized. And any time of day you need to talk amongst yourselves about them. You need to determine what kind of characters you want, and you need to communicate with us. And here, if you don't have anything at your mind ready as a suggestion, we are here to negotiate, we are here to give our own suggestions, and we can come up to these characters together. And this was, of course, like it was like in the previous slide where you saw the picture of Zagreus from Hades. That's the same thing with Kim Kitsuragi from Disco Elysium. He's a flawed guy. He talks funny. He's not that eloquent as you would like, as anyone would like to think. He's a weird dude. Like also Zagreus is the same stuff. I mean, he has flaws. He almost has some lisps at some point. And these small nuances are what makes character believable. And you really have to think about that, because the gaming scene is wild, and too many games are coming, in my personal opinion, during one business year, I don't know. And it's fairly easy to jump into the well of mediocrity, and you had the most sincere plan to make a good character and give voice to them. So we have to create many contingency plans in order to uplift your game from the potential mediocrity it can turn out to be. Don't get me wrong, I don't think any of your games are would be mediocre, but the market is brutal and the market will push it into the mediocrity. There are many factors that need to be avoided. Moving on.
Okay, so to connect to this, when we say know your characters, when we say all of that, you can, for example, come to a voice actor and say, I want the character to have a German accent. And that's all the info that you give to the voice actor. It's the same as if you said, I want to have a house in my game. But you haven't told anyone where the house is going to be. Is it going to be 3D? Is it going to be 2D? Is it going to be isometric? Is it going to be like this? Is it going to be fantasy house? Is it a family house? Is it a sim house? What kind of house is it? Okay? So that's, when you think about that, we all think about graphics more than we think about the voice. And this whole lecture is about that. So that's where we get to the casting call. It's always good to especially not rush into things. Like, I'm gonna go on a platform, I'm gonna find someone who does voices, and hey man, can you do this voice? That's the wrong approach. So what you want to do, you want to consider, I have like 5 male voices, I have 3 female voices. The male voice, one is maybe high-pitched, the other one is low-pitched, the other one has a lisp, etc., etc. The female, she's like a girl or something, and the other female is like this old lady that talks like this, like crazy British, whatever. And you need to then find, as good as possible, actors who are able to match those criteria. If you find someone that we'll get to this later as well, if you find someone who matches some of the criteria but doesn't match something else, then there's a moment of maybe changing a character or a character voice that we will get to later. So then you get to the process of auditions, of course. Never go, oh, I know you do voices, so I'm gonna give you I'm gonna give you like 5 voices in my game or something like that. That happened to me, actually. They hired me to do like 12 monologues for 12 characters in a game just because they didn't know anyone else. Of course, I didn't turn down the job, but it was hard as hell. And yeah, it's good to like reach out to. There are now many platforms. There are many studios who do that. We are the only ones in Serbia, but we're far from the only ones in the world. And you know, you can get there, and you should do like a lot of exploring to see what options you have and what best would suit your character and, of course, your budget. So yeah.
It's a fairly different beast and a soft skill to detect if the person you're communicating with is serious or only an enthusiast that does some anime dubs, fan dubs, for example. I don't know. There is a difference, and fortunately, if you opt for online platforms like Fiverr or Casting Call Club or whatever, there are, of course, comments, feedbacks about each and every voice actor that presents himself or herself there. And you just need to do your research, and you just need to find out if the person is reliable enough to be on the constant communication with your team, because there will be revisions, there will be like additional content to be implemented later in the game dev phase, and that's why we have a studio, for example, because game devs are like, okay, we need guys who we can call at any given time and prepare them for what comes next. And that's a good thing to have a voice acting studio in your notebook, for example, because you can find anyone on the internet to do a small character with 5 or 6 lines just to put a little bit of flavor into game scene or whatever. But if you're doing the main protagonist and main side characters and whatnot, you need to have someone to communicate with constantly. And funnily enough, that's our next topic, clear communication. Yeah. Me, as a narrative designer, I am constantly in a state of being pissed because communication is there is never enough communication between a dev team and between voice actors, because we need to know, and I as a narrative designer need to know what the hell is happening in the studio, and I as a voice actor need to know what the hell is happening in the office where the game devs work. So progress updates are mandatory. Regular communication ensures that everyone is aligned with the project direction and timeline, like the slide says. And this communication needs to be transparent as all hell, because there is no, as you probably know well, there is no ego in game development. There is no, we are not freaking Hideo Kojima, and some of us may be at some point in our lives, but I'm damn sure that's not this day. And we need to communicate, we need to understand ourselves, we need to understand what we are capable and not capable of. And addressing any questions and concern creates an open forum where we can be collaborative and we can do some problem solving together. And of course, we need to have open channels for feedback, for constructive critique. You need to believe us as game devs, you need to believe us as voice actors, where we detect that there is something wrong with your character, where the tone is off, where it doesn't quite fit the scene, when there is some extra work for your audio designer. For example, the game we worked on has of course, a communication system via something like an advanced telephone or whatever, and you can call several characters and talk to them. They sound like they are right in front of you on the street where the game takes place, and that breaks immersion heavily. So, and of course, every member of the game dev team has a lot on its plate, especially if it's a small team of 5 or 6 people, and sometimes they will not detect the most obvious thing, like you need to have some interference and static if you're putting a voice through the telephone system in your game. It cannot sound as clear and smooth as it sounds. And that's where they say thank you, and that's where we say we're freaking welcome because we just saved the immersion of your game. And so the unified vision is absolutely mandatory, unified vision of narrative and tone, because it ensures that all elements of the game, including voice acting, work cohesively to deliver the intended experience. Moving on.
How corporate. So, getting to the fun part, professional studio setup. We mentioned a little bit.
Before Slaviša begins his tirade about the mandatory stuff that voice actors need to have in their studio, I would just want to say this is how you as game devs determine whether your voice actor does some serious business or he or she is bullshitting you. Move on.
Yes, sorry. Exactly. No, that's absolutely excellent, because a voice actor can be good as an actor, can be good as a voice actor, but can have, for example, shitty equipment. They can like sound like from, I don't know, somewhere far away.
Or they can sound like this is when you're in an airplane and it's like
and you can't understand shit. And they may be giving a perfect emotion, but then if you have an audio engineer on team, they will have like additional 15 days of work to clean up that shit. Okay? And you do not want that. Trust me, because the audio engineer is going to say, man, I'm going to need some heavy compensation for this. Okay? So,
and we're going to need some heavy compensation for the revisions, because you will probably say, okay, guys, can you do it again? Just not like that, and not with the echo.
Yeah,
because more than often, game devs don't even have an audio designer dedicated, and then they need to outsource that, and it's an entire like pyramid of problems that can occur. Sorry.
No problem. So, let's talk about microphones first. Podcast microphones that you see on YouTube are not microphones for voice acting. I know that a lot of people touch themselves when they see a Shure hanging like this, and it's cool and huge and like dominating the frame, but that is not a voice acting microphone. Don't, if you talk to someone and they say, oh yeah, I have a Shure SM7B, that's a fucking great. Oh yeah, so this is 18
yeah,
plus.
This is the part where he gets emotional, because we hear from a lot of people who talk to us and they're like, hey, I'm a voice actor. Can I like get into your library of voices and whatever? And what kind of gear do you have? I have a plastic box lined with some insulation. It sounds really great, and that's where we need to be brutal, and that's why he lost it. So I hope you have an understanding for that.
Oh yeah. So a good quality condenser microphone that's paired with the actor's voice. A good voice actor will know what it's all about. An okay voice actor will say, oh, I have a studio, a friend has a studio, I'll go and record there. Awesome. Even better, someone already has a setup, that's good. Soundproof environment. Enough said. You don't want echoes in your game. You don't want reverberation. For example, you're sitting on a beach somewhere and you hear a reverb because it was like recorded in a bathroom, because the voice actor who you picked has like a baby in the house, and the only quiet place that they can record in is if they go in the bathroom. And it's all tiles, and it's all reflective, and it's all hell. No better word. It's literal hell. Like cleaning reverb, like as someone who does that sometimes, cleaning reverb is hell. It's still impossible. You can get it to a certain extent, but you will either hear a little bit of reverb still, or you will get really crappy audio. And that's, again, what have you done? You have to redo the whole thing. And maybe it may have been a fantastic performance, but if the audio quality is not good enough, then what you gonna do? So, and then we come to this like fluid cooperation of game devs, sound engineer, and the voice actors. If you have a sound engineer and they know what the shit is about, so we need this and we need that, and then you communicate back and forth what kind of mic you got, so that I know what kind of processing I'm gonna do, etc., and you streamline the process, and it's really good to have a direct communication between the sound engineer for the sound designer of the game and the voice actors, or the studio if you hire the studio. And so, as Aleksej said, this is how you determine. This is some things that you think about when you want to pick up your voice actor, when you want to choose a voice actor. This is how you determine if they actually mean business, or they can just do, get to the chopper, yeah, I'm a voice actor, I can do Schwarzenegger, yeah. And then they can do nothing else. Because a good voice actor can like do monologues in Schwarzenegger voice, not just, you know, the rage of whatever. So yeah.
Yep. I mean, there is a great internet culture of fan dubbing that I mentioned earlier, and the byproduct of that is there is a whole bunch of people that believe that they have what it takes to be voice actors. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they have an immense talent that needs to be polished and coached and built up into something that can legitimately make you earn some cash from that job. But more than often, it's based on pure enthusiasm. It's based on opinions from people who are not relevant. I don't want to say relevant, but who are not into industry that much, so their opinion can be valued enough to be considered like set in stone that someone is talented or not. You need a mentor. For voice acting, you need a mentor. You need someone who has enough years of experience that they can determine whether you mean business or if you're just a pure enthusiast that does did some fan dubbing once and was like, holy crap, I want to do this. So yeah, that's where we come to, again, the responsibilities of game developer. And the first question when directing the sessions is, should we do a directed session? That's where I have to clear out first that directed session costs extra. And it costs a lot extra because that's where you act as a director. Because if you are a small indie dev team, you will not have audio director or voice director. You will do it yourself, and everything will rely, as I mentioned many times already, everything will rely on your own sense of for your project and what you can make out of it. So should you do a direct session? In my opinion, yes, but you need to do some serious preparations for it. We did a game, we did a demo for a game, one of our dear friends who contacted us. And of course, the game, unfortunately, we cannot say anything about the projects we're working on except one. You will see it later because freaking NDAs and stuff. And it's a slow as hell process. We get around in the studio and the guy is sitting there, and till this point I had a very wrong impression that he knows what kind of characters he needs. Because he's a serious dude, he knows how to talk about his own game, but when the time comes to enter the studio and direct a freaking session, he sits there with legs crossed, and I ask him, what do you want to make of this side character that has like an angry American accent and drives in a muscle car that hits the wall and then he's pissed off and whatever, I don't want to get into any details. He's just like sitting like this and I don't know, man, come on, let's try a few things out and then we can. No, we cannot. No, we cannot. You are, I mean, I love you, man, but you're wasting. Of course, I didn't say it out loud because the game is very promising and we don't want to ruin the relationship with him. But I was pissed. I was like, dude, you cannot talk with me like that. You're wasting my time. You came unprepared with a bunch of your colleagues, and you're literally embarrassing yourself in front of what I will have to call your subordinates.
This is what he's passionate about, as you can hear.
This is what I'm passionate about because, like I said, I'm working as a narrative designer, and my job is to define characters. And the job of my superior is to present these characters. And when I see someone presenting the characters that the other guy wrote completely unfavorably to these characters, I get pissed a lot because it's a devaluation of someone else's work. It's a devaluation of your writer's work. It's a devaluation of your voice actor's work. So you need clear freaking instructions and context because even though the character voice has been found, let's say theoretically, every line has a different setup within the game. That's where the tone of the game, where the setting, where the particular scene comes into play. That's where you need to know every single moment of your video game in your head and tell me the following line. Okay, you read that perfectly, thank you, but the situation is quite different. The character just hit a wall with his car and he needs to be more pissed and in pain. Maybe he broke his femur, maybe he's bleeding out, maybe he's fine, but he ruined a perfectly good car, and you need to express that. And I would be like, thank you very much, and I apologize for misunderstanding and any miscommunication. And then I get into the booth and go like, holy shit, what the... And then when I put actual emotion into that.
And it sounded amazing.
It sounded beautiful when we came to it, but it was a journey to come to that moment. And then, on the other hand, if you are the type of the guy who will sit with their, or girl, of course, who will sit with their legs crossed and like, I don't know, man, then you need to encourage creativity. Then you need to show another type of respect for the voice actors who are working for you. And you need to encourage creativity and allow us to explore different interpretations that can lead to unexpected and outstanding results. The game I'm working for has a character that is basically a sentient weapon. It's a sentient gun that encourages chaotic behavior with their protagonist. And we had no idea what kind of voice we want to gift that sentient freaking gun. We only knew it needs to be a loud-mouthed bastard. And then our colleague Georgina, one of the best ladies I've ever met in my life and most talented person on this, one of the most talented people on this freaking planet, she came and said, how about female Bill Burr? If anyone knows comedian Bill Burr, I mean, you know what kind of chaotic voice he had. Now imagine a female Bill Burr, so it's a loud-mouthed babe from Boston, like encouraging everything that is wrong within potential character's behavior. And then we paused for like 15 minutes to gather ourselves because we were laughing our asses off when she started improvising and everything. And we knew, we as game devs and us as voice actors knew how to value the creativity that was given for our project. Because at that point, we didn't know whether it would be profitable for us. We just knew we want to do this freaking project and believe in it. And I'm really sad that Georgina is not here with us because there is no way that I could actually mimic that voice. But just imagine Bill Burr, female Bill Burr. It was freaking glorious. And that's how you come to some great results. So flexibility is absolutely favorable. There is always room for improvisation. And like I said, the best moments come from the unscripted, in-the-moment performances.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah. Shall you take this or I will?
So in this game, that's like a real highlight of the improv moments. There was you come to a character that's like this... redneck girl who's like, low pants and just like a bra, and she's like, hey, baby, she's all like that. And so the gun, the text for the gun originally was this bion
is made for one thing and one thing only. The character is wearing a synthetic suit that is meant for, working the streets. I mean, the character deliberately moved their consciousness into the body of a sex worker. So the line said, I'm sorry, I'm hijacking your moment, but it was freaking insane. The line was mostly mild, and it's an advice from the gun that says to the character like, hey, Cooper, this thing is made for one thing and one thing only. You won't get anything from it but one thing and one thing only. And aforementioned colleague, Georgina, came and said, this bion is made for one thing and one thing only. And then she adds, turkey stuffing.
And turkey stuffing lost our minds,
My whole body was in a state of disbelief, and then we had to stop with the recording and everything just because of these two freaking words, and then that were like deadpan comedy. Okay, turkey stuffing. Holy crap! I mean, we had to pause the recording for like 15 minutes, and after that, everything went as smoothly as possible. But these are the moments that can define your character. And it's up to you whether you will let that in. We could cut that out, of course. But if you're open to some improv, and if you are open for some advice from your voice actors about how to improve the line or make it more smooth for the character and more on point for the character itself, then we can have a wonderful relationship and have many situations where we will laugh our ass off, and hopefully you will laugh your ass off too. Moving on.
Yes. So, case in point, we have a small video for you guys, and it's we voiced these two guys among many other characters in this game, and they're two Slavic bouncers, as I would say.
Now, here's what was the intention about these two. These two were supposed to. This is where the evolution of your cooperation with voice actors comes into play. These guys, they're named Chaba and Shlop. These guys weren't supposed to be that important at all. They were like to be the most side characters. They are two thugs that act like impromptu lawmen in the game setting, and they're guarding the crime scene when a bunch of guys has been impaled, and our protagonist, the detective over there, needs to examine the crime scene, but they won't let him do it. And they're being quite an assholes about it, like any like hard-bass Slav boys would do, where anyone with a badge comes near them. And they were supposed to have serious voices. They were supposed to be like, no, you cannot approach, something like that. You cannot approach the crime scene, fuck off. This is a quotation, so I can use the F word, sorry about that. But then at one point, I was like, let's do Slavic Beavis and Butthead. I mean, let's make these guys total freaking morons, because they can beat it. I mean, look at these guys. They're weird as hell. They have one has bionic hand, and they are already visually serious. But we can turn it up by a notch by creating them total unhinged morons. Where of course one considers himself a smartass. The bigger dude, of course, considers himself a romantic, and that's their hidden desires. And they have their idols. They want to be big shots in their own city, but they're freaking morons. And so have in mind that the first intention was them to sound like something like this, go like, fuck off, detective, what the hell do you want from me? Go away, little man, go away. This is the in-game result that you're about to hear right now.
So Regia.
Yeah.
Double click.
Here's what due process in the pit looked like in those days. A few laughable strips of yellow tape and a couple of shit-for-brain thugs pretending to be guards. Full stop.
Hey! Not a step closer, little man. This is a crime scene.
Yeah, and this is our jurisdiction.
Jurisdiction.
That, yes. Fine work, colleague.
I'm here to take a look at the crime scene.
Crap, wait. Let me check with the boss first. Hey boss, Chaba from Trash here. I have... Miss Zina, that you?
He was as nervous as a teenager on his first date.
I'm sorry, Miss Zina. I was expecting Diesel or...
Hi, Miss Zina!
Shut the fuck... No, everything is fine. It's just some random PI asshole sniffing around. Yes, Zina. Da. Yes, Zina. Thank you, Zina. Not going to happen, detective.
Who's Zina now?
Only the queen of the fucking underworld!
Fine. Buddy, I might have some bad news for you.
What? Did she die? Is my Mila dead?
No, she's fine. Except she's, sitting on two chairs, so to speak.
Someone cut her in half!
Of course, the object of Chlop's desire is cheating on him, and that's one of the side quests in the game, and the byproducts of learning some info about the person of interest. I won't get into too much detail. But as you have heard, these guys are caricatures, but it's still not damaging to the tone of the game. The tone varies between serious noir stuff and completely unhinged bullshit like this. So it's a thin line, but the game was on Steam Next Fest recently, and from the most unimportant characters in the game, we gained some information. We gained the feedback from the audience who said, we of course asked, who are your most favorite characters? And many people were like, these two morons from Trash Corner who act like lawmen and yell around. And my heart was warm so much, like you wouldn't believe. So that was the case in point of how you can transform your character and work with the game dev to create something that was not intended, but it works just as beautiful, if not more. And this is fairly connected to it. I mean, you have to encourage your actors to understand and connect with their characters. That's why it's good to have a game writer in the room. That's why the game direction should, if the game dev team is too small, it's always a good thing to send out a writer. Because I've been a writer of my own project, and I was in a studio when we were recording voices for it, and I knew the context behind every line, and I knew how to work with him and our colleague and fellow voice actor characters, and they knew what they're getting into because every line had a basic context. It had a previous line that was said, and it had I will dare to say, perfect explanation of the scene and the moment where the line is said and where everything takes place. So that's how we fall in love with your characters. That's how we connect with them. That's how we wake up in the middle of the night talking like them and then laughing with no one but ourselves there. That's how we are happy for your project and for the fact that we are helping you and working, cooperating on that project. But more than often, there is no like background in drama or fine arts within the game dev team, and they don't know how to describe what they need. So any references would be more than welcome. Like I said, we based the voice of a gun character, the sentient gun, on a comedian, Bill Burr. It would be very hard to describe the voice of Bill Burr if you are not like, I don't want it to sound like insulting, or if you're not socially capable to describe someone's voice. It's a Boston accent. It's very, very loudmouth. It's very high pitched from time to time, and many game devs would not know how to pronounce that line. So the best thing you can do if you are aware of that is to say, I need a character that has the voice of comedian Bill Burr. I need a character that has the voice of Chris Pratt from his time in Parks and Recreation. So not Guardians of the Galaxy Chris Pratt, we need Andy from Parks and Recreation Chris Pratt, a lovable fat ass who is beloved by everyone on this bliss planet. So the references are fine, they provide relevant material to aid in character portrayal, but there is one more mandatory thing about building your character relationship, and that is consistency. You cannot tell one thing now and the other thing later if you got to the audio phase. You cannot tell to us that you need someone that sounds like Chris Pratt, and 3 months later it's like, yeah, how about we do him like with a bit of a lower pitch and give him a lisp?
No, actually you can, but it's going to cost.
It costs a lot of money. So it costs a lot of money to you, and we will have to insist that we be paid for an extra work because we're basically doing everything grounds up if you change your mind about anything. So you have to be adamant about the voice and the not only the visual aspect of the character, but the voice aspect and the setting and the context of your entire game and your entire narrative in the game. These things can change, but like Slaviša explained with his gesticulation, it costs a lot of cash to do things all of a sudden differently.
And that's where we come to the fun part. Well, it's fun for me because this is probably after we deliver the lines, this is a really important thing to remember. So the first thing is, of course, for the game dev team to know what kind of the characters they have, what kind of the setup it is, what kind of character relationships there are, and in different scenes, the different approaches, the different tonalities that need to be used, the different accentuation, of course. And then after that, we come to the second part. The lines have been recorded, and now what next? If you work, for example, with 5 voice actors from different countries, maybe even different parts of the city, they don't know each other, but one has one kind of a setup at home, the other person has another setup at their home, someone else has a studio, etc. They provide different audio quality, different audio levels, different audio sounds. Everything is different. The only way that you can guarantee that the results are the same if it's all done in the same place. That is actually why we organize the studio, so that the people, even if someone hires a voice actor like from another place and they tell them, so go to this studio to record, that's also how it can be, you know? So, and then what you have like the standard audio, the standard finished audio, and that's where your game audio designer comes in play, especially because they will tell us, okay, so we need this bit depth, we need this like leveling, we need Not gonna bother you guys with the details there, but there's a lot of like small details that need to be specified, and we usually even put them in the contracts. We'll get to that later. And that way we can deliver audio that will give the smallest amount of headache to the game dev team when they go ahead and implement that, because they don't have to think about, oh, I'm going to have to level, this one's going to have to be louder, this one's, and this maybe this sentence is too quiet, or maybe the music here is too loud, or something, what's going on, or this guy seems to be whispering, but it's louder than the machine gun that he's currently firing, or something like that. And it's all the things that need to be taken in account after the recording is done, and that's something that the studio works with, and that's something that the game's audio designer needs to think about ahead, and very much ahead. So, and then when the audio is implemented, then you get to do the playtesting part.
That's where you need to be aware of the fact that your game needs to have a community even before the game is out, just in order to put the game out on early access, on whatever. I'm not going to bother you with this because it's fairly straightforward. When you integrate the voice acting in your game, it's always better to be frank and to be sincere with your community when you're throwing out the demo on Steam Next Fest or whatever you want to throw your demo around. You need to say this is an unfinished product. It has an unfinished audio segments. This is being published this is being thrown out into the wild for the feedback purposes. And if you're honest with your audience will be honest with you, and that's how you will avoid trolls, and you will avoid like a 12-year-olds who are like, this game is shit, I want to play Call of Duty instead. Of course you want to play Call of Duty and Minecraft instead. Yeah. And that's how you build sincerity and feedback mechanism with your players. So there is no we fix it in post in voice acting. There is, but we tend not to consider that an option because we like to think that you consider your project as serious as we are considering our side of the job. Legal freaking stuff, yeah.
So some of you were at the previous lecture, so not going to go too much into detail, but contracts. Contracts are super important. You protect your ass, the voice actors protect their asses. Everyone's secure, everyone's fine, everyone's happy. I had a boss a long time ago, before I decided to be my own boss, who told me a very important lesson. It's better to sweat for days before your signature than to sweat for months after you sign something.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. So that's why it's very important to specify how many roles, how many lines, what is all that needs to be done. Is it just the voice acting, or is it like file cutting? Is it leveling? Is it effects? Is the studio putting the effects, or is the game dev audio designing putting in the effects, or whatever is happening in that sense? And of course, the compensation, what's going to cost, how much. And we come to a very important part. Please do not offer food and or alcohol as compensation to your voice actors.
We're not students. You're usually not students, but even if you are students, please don't offer alcohol to us, at least while we're in the studio and we're considering helping you on the demo for your game or something like that. You need to act seriously no matter your age or whatever. I mean, it would really mean big for us if you acted seriously in all moments during your game development.
There was actually a time when a guy who's working on his own, he's a solo guy working on his game for like 3 or 4 years, and he contacts me on Facebook and he says like, hey man, I saw you do some voices, and I can buy you like 2 crates of beer if you do like all the voices in my game. Wow, and when you sell your game, you're going to be paid in bubble gum? I don't know, what the hell, man, you know? So, for a small project, we're friends, hey, could you like record 1 line or something? Hey, I'm going to buy you a beer or something. Maybe, okay, sure, yeah.
If we feel like it, and if we love you really much.
Yeah, of course, not just us, but anyone, you know? But the thing is, compensation is a category for itself. And when planning on a budget of the game, because game audio and the voice acting part is really, really big, okay? Again, gonna go back to the beginning when I told you guys that as game devs, people mostly think more about how it's gonna look than how it's gonna sound. And then when you come to sound, okay, we have 100 euros for like 50 characters and we can play 2 euros to each actor. And then one guy say, well, I can do like 10 voices, can I get 20 euros, please? Please, pretty please? And it gets nuts, you know? So that's a very important thing to think about when planning your budget. Also plan for the voice acting. Again, it can be like, okay, we have like 5,000 lines that we want to do, and then it's going to be a hefty, you know, amount. Or, well, I just have 3, 2, 1, go, congratulations, and stuff like that. And then, okay, you're thinking maybe like 100, 150 or something like that. You know, I'm not gonna like tell you how much, but
yeah, we're not gonna get into pricing that much. It's easy to Google a table like standard pricing, industry standard pricing for voice actors. Many studios rely on the industry standard from the States because the product is most likely to be sold in the States also. So there is no reason why we shouldn't consider that I don't know, legitimate pricing. But of course we created our own, but like I said, I'm not gonna bother you with that too much.
And of course, you have a budget, and you suggest the budget to the voice actors, and if it works for them, great. If it doesn't, well, we'll try to find someone else, or we'll do it in the basement with a crap microphone and stuff like that.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do it. I mean, it's our own bread and butter, so whatever we do it like it is a AAA game, to be honest.
Yeah.
And that's the same sentiment that we expect from the game devs. Yes, you're doing a small game, perhaps we are doing something even for the mobile or whatever, but if you are taking it as seriously as guys who did Baldur's Gate 3, then we can show some mutual respect that is actually sincere respect. Yeah, and speaking about mutual respect, there is a topic that scares most of us as voice actor, and that makes game devs think that they can do everything alone, and actually they can. That topic, of course, is AI. So we will.
Holy shit.
We won't take too much time talking about AI because I personally don't want to be a Luddite. I don't want to denounce any new technology that comes out. I'm speaking here for myself. Slaviša will tell his own take about that.
Oh, yes.
But I mean, I believe that every new technology that comes out is a tool for making things easier and putting some more tedious work on the side. And I believe that AI-generated voices, for example, can help a lot of game devs to just test their limitations of their game when they are making prototype and demo that they will try to pitch into the funds and venture capitalists and publishers in general. So my personal opinion is either do or don't. Just avoid mixing human and AI-generated voices. We got into that situation where there were some extra characters in the game we were working on, and we weren't informed about these characters, and the devs were like, okay, we'll AI that, it's not a problem. And I rolled my eyes so hard that I probably messed up the rotation of the Earth. Because the demo, when we took a look at the demo, I mean, I don't want to say that we were great and the AI created like
but it
some
sounded
dissonance.
like shit.
It sounded like shit. You could tell from the start that this is a legitimate voice and this is that annoying lady from TikTok that's like, look at my cat, and something like that.
Hello, adventurers.
So either do or don't. Just don't mix humans and robots until for 2 or 3 years before robots become eerily natural at doing voices. And this is where we get emotional on the second point. Yeah, I will let you be emotional. I was emotional last time.
Yeah. So a very important part. Do not clone the voices of your actors. If you need an additional line, it's better to give them 5, 10, 50 million more euros and have that like, oh, I'm sorry, additional, than like just to, oh, fuck it, I'll just clone it, okay? Because we and not just the two of us, but it is becoming a standard practice for all the actors, for all the voice actors, for anyone in any type of like this performance art, to protect ourselves in our contracts. Like I said some time ago, you protect yourself, we protect ourselves. Okay, so if you take 10 minutes of our voices and you clone it and then you use it without our authorization and compensation, then we can sue your asses.
We would really like not to do that, but
Yeah.
we have to defend ourselves, and I don't want to sugarcoat anything here. Game devs are mostly beautiful people and filled with enthusiasm and great ideas, but they can also be assholes who are like, look at these guys trying to like stop me from doing this or that thing. I know better. I'm the smartest guy on the planet. We come from Serbia. In Serbia, everyone thinks they're smart enough to be the president.
And
everyone thinks they're smart enough to screw someone over because they are afraid of being screwed over. It's a complete dissonance, and we met people like that more than once. And then we stood and said, okay, we can create a clause in our contract that will defend us, or we can get screwed over at some point in our career, and that would be a very important moment in our freaking careers. So luckily Steam is on our side. Currently it prohibits the use of AI generated content, but legislation will change in the following years, and you need to follow what happens on that field. We will follow it too, and hopefully we will come to an agreement. I'm not just gonna say hopefully. I know that we're gonna come to an agreement, because the main goal here is like, let's make a game that's fun and from our side has some good quality voices, and from your side has a good quality hooking gameplay to like waste five. I'm not saying waste. Holy crap! I'm not saying waste to present and give $500 to file our lives to.
Yes.
And finally, credit where credit is due.
Yes.
Properly.
So, yeah. Sorry. Anybody? No,
We're getting a bit tired. Sorry about it.
So credit where credit is due. If you let us brag about we're doing the voices for a game, then you're getting an extra channel of promotion for your own game. Okay, and if, for example, our page has this number of thousands of followers, and we say, yo, we did this like crazy game from this like crazy Slovakian studio, these guys are awesome, and it was really so much fun, and then you get like suddenly a spike in your sales, and like, holy shit, this was a good investment, you know? So, credits, and if we already signed the contract, we will provide the actors' names and what they worked on, and then as you state the names of like, this is the 3D engineer, this is like the 2D or blah, blah, whatever the titles are, I don't know. And I just know there's the narrative designer, because and it's like the movie credits, where you credit like even the 15th person who collected trash somewhere over there. You say, oh, the 15th person who collected trash, their name is like this.
It's called floor manager.
Yeah, floor. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm being really insensitive here. So yeah, so the floor manager, 15th floor manager, still gets a name in the credits. And the voice actors, who are a vital part of the game, should have the same. And again, bragging rights, hey, I did this, so check it out. I mean, I personally boosted the sales for some of my clients just by promoting their product that I voiced. I was like, so, hey guys, check this out, I did the voice for this. And like, holy shit, man, we just got a boost in sales like 25%.
Yeah, because I'm going to hijack right here, because I'm speaking from a game dev side in me. Games fail because of bad marketing. Good games fail because of a bad marketing, because of a bad marketing research. Games that are published in the worst possible moment because the other game in the same genre and with the similar play style came out like a week before you published your own game. And bad marketing and disregarding marketing can ruin your life's work. And that happened to a lot of great titles. So you need to be aware that you need to commit some time to the marketing plan, promoting your game, encouraging your in the entire team to find ways to promote the game. and encouraging, of course, your community to talk about that game on social media, on Discord, on Reddit, I don't know, anywhere. Especially if you don't have a publisher, especially if you're self-publishing the game, then that's a huge beast to tangle with. But you need to be aware of that. Bad marketing or disregarding marketing can ruin your freaking life's work. It happened more than often, and you have to be aware of that. Then, on the other hand, you can build long-term relationships with your outsourcing companies, like Sensible Shouting would be. And if you say it, you want to say something?
No, you just.
If you establish a positive working relationship, that can lead to future collaboration and a network of talented voice actors. In our case, so one successful project, like I'm always using Supergiant as the best possible example. They created a base of voice actors that synergized with the dev team so good that Hades is the game, in my opinion, with the best voice acting in the last 15 years or something like that. Then, on the other hand, I have a hot take that I don't really like Baldur's Gate 3 voice acting that much because there was no synergy between devs and voice actors. They just said, we need 400 characters to be voice acted and mocapped. And that's how you get some sameness with all the races, with all the characters, with everything in the game, from a cat a druid can talk to a draconid that should have at least a little bit of a growl in his or her voice. Yes. But it doesn't. They all sound like posh Brits from time to time, with the exception of narrator, of course, which is probably the best narrator in the gaming industry right now.
Yes. So, yeah, we took a chunk of your time. We're sorry.
Yeah, we took a serious chunk of your time. I was hoping this will be a little bit faster, but the problem is we like to talk real much.
Yes.
So it's a Q&A moment right now, if you have a little bit of time for that.
So if anyone, just go nuts.
Yep, thank you very much, guys. We have a question, actually, from Slido. What should be done when you have a dedicated audio director from voice acting company, but he is quiet during the whole session?
You should kick him in the ass. Or her. It's
either not an audio designer or as a vocation, or they're not paid enough or paid at all to care. I mean, add something, please.
Yeah. So the audio director's job is to direct audio. If they're quiet, then it's all perfect. But people, it is never all perfect, okay? If the audio director is quiet, then their mind is not there. They're just going through this, they're just like droning it away.
Taste the bastard. Yeah. I mean, give him or her some sugar, for example. Just wake that person up, because if you have voice acting in your games, that person is really, really important for the development of it.
Yes, even if they just say, yeah, this was good. That's enough. If they say, yeah, I liked it, this was good, let's go, move on.
It clears our conscience.
Exactly.
In the worst possible case, it clears our conscience. When we get the green light for someone, I mean...
Yes. I'm sorry, are we still on the first question? Oh shit, incoming. So, what about an alcohol after the session? Yes, sure. If we got super excited about this, we can celebrate with something to calm us down. If we got super aggressive, then we can like
mellow down.
Yeah, get something to mellow us down. If we are just so super freaking tired, then just get some mulled wine, some warm mulled wines, or some rakia, and it really soothes everything here. So it's really good. So alcohol after the session, if you're up for it, sure. It's, again, preferences, alcohol, sweets, whatever works for you. But as voice actors, we prefer either the lozenges for the throat or the hard liquor. The hard liquor actually helps release the tension in the throat area. So in that sense, it's really good after a long and strenuous session. And actually, I do a lot of dubbing for like Serbian cartoons, etc. And sometimes I even get a little bit of like a schnapps or something like that before the recording session, because again, I do all the blah, blah, blah exercises. But again, the alcohol helps Of course, just one shot, not like, oh, 15 shots later, so we're ready to film this shit or what, you know? So
unless the character requires it, I mean, we can improvise, but we would rather not.
Yeah.
I mean, during the session, it's all about warm tea and warm water and apple slices for us. But after the session, it's like.
Oh, I really want to like all of these questions. They're amazing. Is voice director an actual job or just part of another job? It can be an act. No, it's not like a hello, I'm a voice director and this is my CV as a voice director. It can be. It's like a movie director, but it usually isn't. Usually, voice director is just part or complementary to another profession. For example, us as the owners of the studio, we are both voice directors. He's more the voice director in the sense of connecting the lines, and I'm more the voice director in the sense of delivering the lines, you know, so that the lines streamline, but that's more his part, and my part is more like, yeah, but you try to pronounce this word maybe a bit different or more enthusiastic, etc.
Having a voice director is a really tricky part. It's actually a great question because even the AAA companies like CD Projekt Red can do voice directing wrong in terms of having someone that is not really connected with the whole writing process, with the whole character creation process. That person as a voice director is there to like ensure that non-native English speakers are doing an English voice believable, and that can backfire. It's not voice acting example, but it's a music example from Cyberpunk. There was a British guy, who directed the sessions of recording music for Johnny Silverhand's band, for the Samurai, and as you probably know, the music was performed by a Swedish punk band. I forgot the name, and that is terrible for my education about the topic. But these guys almost broke their instruments on this guy's head because he was like, "Okay, that sounds really good, but you pronounced." I don't know, the completely insignificant word somewhat wrong. Can we do it all over again? So that guy doesn't know how music recording works, and there wasn't enough preparation for that. And that also happens with the voices. It can backfire having a voice director. So I will get back on my theory that it's always good to have a narrative designer or a game writer in the room that can correct on the stuff on the go. Someone that is familiar with the context fairly enough.
Wow.
A lot of questions, guys.
A lot of questions. Damn, I'm happy. What about animal voice acting? Is it voiced by humans or is there anytime real animals involved? So I've never recorded a live animal in my studio. So there's that. But there are instances that, for example, there were some voice actors, and still are, who did like some roars, like you get a bucket, it's literally like this. You get a tin bucket and you're like, roar, and then it sounds, you can then like lower the pitch and it sounds like a bear or like a lion. It's really like, it's super fun to do, but that's not something that we did so far.
Animals are used even less. I mean, the only recent example I know is Stray, where there was a fabulous mocap of the cat, but they also recorded meows of the said cat, and you know, cats, they like to meow, right? Well, this one liked to meow as long as the microphones are turned on. When the microphones went turned on, she was sitting like there and licking her own ass or something like. She did not want to cooperate. So it's a huge gamble. Dogs are more friendly for voice acting, as much as I've heard, but cats do their own thing. And I'm guessing that when wildlife comes to mind, there is a base of sounds that can be bought. Like Sony has great audio collections for nature, and that's the moment where you usually hear the same sound over and over again. That means that the same package of sounds has been used. In the movies for the last 40 years, you will hear the same sound of child's laughter, for example. Something like that.
Or the Wilhelm scream.
That sounded weird, I know, but it's the same sound over and over again. I even heard it in games. I mean, there were some city builders like Zeus and Poseidon, where the children are running the street, and you hear the same sound you heard like in 30 movies. It's similar stuff with animals, because you cannot bring a bear into the studio, definitely.
What's the hardest role you voice acted? Oh, there are actually two. I did a huge part in, well, a huge part because there was many lines, but in fact it wasn't that much. There's a crew that's redoing Morrowind with the Skyrim engine, and it's called Skywind, and you can follow the progress updates on their website. And there I did voices for 3 races, for Nords, for Orcs, and for Argonians. And my Argonian, they apparently liked it so much that they asked me to make a tutorial on how to do it. And then the other voice actors used it for the development. So the Argonians, I'm pretty sure that almost everyone has played one of the Elder Scrolls games at least. So you know that
the Argonians have like a voice that is really like raspy and breathy.
And this, when you say it for like when you record the lines for like 20 minutes, you're fine. I mean, me as a voice actor who knows what they're doing, I'm fine. But when I have to record like 700 lines, that's maybe like an hour and a half or even more of work, and it gets a toll. So my voice really becomes like super tired. It starts itching and like scratching, and so that's one. And the other was the orc,
where you need to like lower everything down and then talk more from here.
And then extended speaking like that, again, does the same thing. It just tires you endlessly. I mean, we can talk for a long time, but when you have to like change your voice to an extent that makes it more unrecognizable, for example, hi, Miss Zina, that's very simple. That doesn't tire your voice. You just clench a part here, and then, yeah, you can just play around. But with these other variations, it's kind of, it gets complex.
Me, on the other hand, I'm really self-criticizing. He knows that. He will see me nervous in the booth because I'm perfectly aware that I'm not an native English speaker. And when you have a character who's basically a mixture of Oliver Twist, so 19th century Munchkin from London, and he's a mixture of that kid with Gollum and Doomsday. So he has a jaw like Doomsday from Superman. He's a mutant. He's a hideous freak that is actually the most lovable kid in the world. Yes, your voice is sounds something like this. And it's really weird when you talk like that, and you're from freaking Serbia, right, mate? So
Yeah.
I don't know if the final result is going to sound believable enough, but that's what the client ordered, and that was a great challenge. And I was just sitting in my booth and saying, "Am I doing this shit right? Does it?"
He
sound,
was so nervous.
Does it sound believable? And that's where I flipped and just got out. I need a 10-minute break because it was definitely with the voice acting technique in mind. That was the hardest character that I ever did.
And he did it amazing. I really love it. And I'm super critical about how people voice act. I even have a side gig that I evaluate, like Serbian voice actors in general. And so I'm really proud of what he did there. So yeah, I think we did could you demonstrate some of the
voice? Welcome, adventurer. It is good to see you in the store. That annoying fool outside chases my customers away.
And you know, stuff like that. So those are like, I mean, you heard the voices also that we did for some of the voices that we did for the game. So yeah, hi, Mizina. Very, shut the fuck up. Yeah,
we love these guys, but there is one I would like to mention. There is a character that is, because there is a character that is basically a cat, but the cat is also like a synthetic pet, so you can slot in anyone's conscience within that. And in order to save his father's life, one of my characters stuck his own dad into a body of a cat. The problem is his dad is an old school gangster with a heavy Eastern European accent. So we were thinking, what kind of voice we can give to a character that is like an old fat Serb that spent some time in jail, but now finds himself in the body of the most lovable fuzzy cat you can imagine. Now just imagine a big fluffy gray cat with the most wonderful eyes you can imagine, and all of a sudden she talks like this, like, what the fuck, koji kurac you're doing in my apartment? And that scene is freaking
legendary.
Insane.
So we're going to connect these two questions. What do you exactly mean by cloning the voices of the voice actors, and what about cloning a voice actor if it's the number one motherfucker, and stop all communication and cooperation? I presume it's number one motherfucker. Maybe it's something else. Please correct me. Unless you want to stay anonymous, then I'm going to proceed with this mindset. So cloning the voices of voice actors. There are many cloning tools that I as a voice actor could use to my benefit, but I don't plan to like ever. Cloning the voices. Basically, you get the recording session and you put it through the cloning program. And then you just test it by typing in some letters, like some words, and it gives you a phrase. And basically, you can use that phrase in like, for example, the session is like 10 minutes long, and I think that's actually enough for the cloning algorithm to get everything. What? There's more. Motherfucker. So yeah, we'll get to this. Yeah, sorry. This is your mother. Yeah. So anyways, where were we? Yeah. So and when the voice is cloned, basically you just type a prompt, and then you should get the voice. I'm gonna power through this.
You broke him.
Yeah,
Whoever did this, you broke him.
Yeah.
I know who did it.
And so yeah, you get the voice and you're good. And now if it happens that you work with a voice actor and they disappear for whatever reason, or you need extra lines, but they say like, no, I need more money, and you don't have that amount of money. If you're protected by the contract, yes, that's the word, I remembered the word. If you're protected by the contract, you can absolutely and should sue their ass for compensation, not just for the money that you already paid them, but additional compensation, okay?
And you are entitled for continuous compensation, whether the content that was AI generated by training from your voice is used in any extent. It's like when you create a hit song and you earn some money from it like 20 years in the future because it's popular. If the content is used with an AI generated voice, that is basically the same thing like calling us and asking for a revision of something and getting us back into the studio. So we are entitled for continuous compensation if you're using the trained AI voice based on our voice.
This question, let's connect to that. About AI, are some limited uses of AI negotiable? For example, specifically for voicing the player's name. You can absolutely put that in the contract. If there is like this very specific, and the phrasing needs to be very specific. You can say, yes, we want to like make it unique for the players. So the only instance we will be using the voice is to create the player's name. Then absolutely yes. So I'm pretty sure that some kid out there called Kinky Lover 69 is gonna have their minds blown. And yeah, if you want to put that in the clause, tell the voice actor, yeah, we're gonna use it specifically for that, and you're gonna get compensated. But consider this: if you plan a base of like 100,000 players, that is a minimum of 100,000 additional words. And you need to compensate the voice actor for that as well, okay? Because there is the voice cloning is okay as long as the person who is the provider of the voice is compensated for all the work that they will not get because someone cloned their voice and used it for that. So if you clone my voice and use it in 50 games, but I get only paid for one, what am I doing? Okay, that is not like a good line of work for me.
Let's do some fast ones. Have you ever had trouble with foreign game? The studios that wouldn't let you fix their shoddy English translations? Or it's an issue with Asian studios? Yeah, Asians are arrogant. Asian studios are arrogant. They are, and they're understandably arrogant about their content because the Western studios are often like stereotyping some stuff about the game set in any type of Asian content. So it's only fair to consider that they will do the same thing. Have you watched Squid Game, you know how the American characters behind the mask, the Western characters behind the mask were portrayed. That was ball sweating cringe. That was really, really bad. But that's how Koreans. That's how Koreans observe white people from the West. And they said it openly. They said it, this is how we think Westerners behave. And this is our script and these are our rules. So if their English is bad, and you can say that to clear your own conscience, and I would most certainly say that and offer some proofing services and whatnot. We also do that, of course, because we all want the end product to be as much quality as possible. But I would not expect them to agree about anything except for what they strictly want, and I'm guessing we would have to be reasonable about that.
Yes. So, how do you keep your voice healthy and in line throughout the VA session? Warm up.
Warm up.
Warm up and hydration. Two most important things. It's like you go to a basketball game. You do a warm up before that, and then you go through the game, no problem. But if you don't do a warm up in like 10 minutes, you're gonna twist an ankle, you're gonna sprain a muscle, something like that. And it's the same with your voice. This is like a bunch of muscles that work in union to give us money. So this is our money thing, you know.
Yeah, it's very important to be aware of that, because you can seamlessly change. If you're doing like 150 lines for a character, you can seamlessly switch from a clear voice like this to something like this without even noticing it. And that's when you have two entirely different characters, and you realize that when the whole thing is done, when you send something, and when you're audio editing and cutting it into files, you're like, what the hell, this sounds completely different. And that's where hydrating, drinking some warm water, eating some apple slices, having some honey and whatever, that's where these wonderful stuff that comes into play. And when the whole thing is done, like we said, it's some hard liquor.
And now for the elephant in the room, the Lidl voice. So as the 4 people in the audience know, I am the Lidl voice in Serbia. So when you go, you've probably been to Lidl stores throughout Europe, and there's like this something bullshit saying. And yeah, that's me in Serbia. So someone out there wants me to say, poštovani kupci, otvaramo kasu broj 5.
Yeah, he went viral. He went viral on TikTok.
This is so embarrassing.
Okay, guys, if we can rush through these questions a bit, because we are crazy over time. Yeah,
no problem. Animal Crossing, I have no idea.
It's really I gave like 800 hours of my life to Stardew Valley, so it's a bit embarrassing for me to say I haven't played Animal Crossing at all. So I really apologize for not knowing what you think about it, but I'm gonna check it on the internet later. All I know about Animal Crossing is that it is adorable, and it had a cross-promotion with Doom Eternal, and that was one of the best cross-promotions in the history of mankind. For all people who think Barbie and Oppenheimer was the best thing ever, before that there was Animal Crossing and Doom Eternal. It was glorious.
For this, get a coach. Get a coach. There are voice acting coaches. There's a lot of things to be done and to practice. What you need is a coach, and hire a coach and work with them, and you'll get places. So, yeah, I think you had a...
Yeah, I would like to ask, let's say I'm writing a story and characters. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Let's say I have written a story for a game with the characters and all their backgrounds, their situation in the current scene and relations to other characters, but I really don't know what exactly their voice should be like. Would you be open to cooperating on the making up some voice, or is it like something I should come up?
Yes. You should absolutely. We are, and the studio and the voice actors should always be open to cooperation and to help the game devs find the best solution for that. So it's not just, we have a done thing, this is what we want you to do. We spoke about this at some point, but yes, absolutely. We are always open, we, the voice actors in general, are open to improvising, to troubleshooting and everything to get the best result for the game and for the game devs.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the questions.
Sorry for taking this too long, man.